My fellow Ambazonians, fellow leaders, and greetings to our brave generals, commanders, and the foot soldiers defending our people, our identity, our territory, and the Declaration of Independence. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2026. I want to salute the courage and the bravery of the Ambazonian people, the collective defiance shown yesterday, the collective rejection of Cameroon's colonial day of national unity called 20th May. We want to salute the extraordinary commitment of our people in standing firm and holding the line and standing up for our collective self-determination. This is how it's done. It's not done by mere political slogans. It's done by collective boycott. Yesterday, once more, our people have demonstrated to the international community and to Cameroon itself. Cameroon cannot claim to be celebrating a day of national unity when simultaneously the same Cameroon colonial occupation government is waging bias war on the Ambazonian people. Cameroon cannot claim to be celebrating a day of national unity where their occupation and terrorist forces are committing atrocities, burning down communities across the Ambazonian territory. We are proud of our people. Over the last 1 week, I have been engaged in extensive research on how the persecuted Jewish people, these people that were humiliated, discriminated, displaced, that were unwanted across Europe, how their collective trauma, their collective exclusion, collective insecurity, and displacement shape their thinking, their nationalist drive for a homeland, for self-determination, for independence, and for sovereignty. How the persecution the Jewish people went through, including their experience of the Holocaust, how that shaped their drive, their conviction for freedom, for independence, and not only sovereignty, but the ability to build a powerful and a strong state so that they will never again be threatened as a people. This research is a constellation of political realism, state building, institutional development, strategic cohesion, economic resilience, and psychological nation formation. how power, trauma, state formation, and of Jewish experiences can be historical lessons and examples for the Ambazonian people. Throughout European history, Jewish community experienced repeated cycles of exclusion, discrimination, pogroms, forced displacement, legal restrictions, public humiliation, and vulnerability as minorities dependent on the tolerance of stronger states. These experiences deeply shaped the Jewish political psychology over centuries. A central lesson many Jewish thinkers and leaders drew from this history was this: a people without a people that cannot secure itself politically remain permanently vulnerable to the decision of others. A people that cannot secure itself politically remains permanently vulnerable to the decisions of others. This became especially powerful in the late 19th and the 20th centuries as nationalism spread across Europe. For many Zionist thinkers, the issue was not only about religion or identity, it was about their powerlessness and how they must change their destiny. They concluded that cultural survival without political power was fragile. Moral arguments alone could not guarantee protection, just like the force of argument cannot guarantee the independence of Ambazonia. And dependence on external goodwill was strategically dangerous. This mindset intensified after events such as the anti-Jewish violence in Eastern Europe, just like what the Ambazonian people are experiencing today, the Bias war of extermination on the Ambazonian people, exclusion within European societies, and eventually the horrors of the Holocaust. The Balfour Declaration signaled an opening for political self-determination in parts of Palestine, but Zionist leaders understood something important from a realist perspective. Just like the Balfour Declaration signaled an opening for the Jewish people for political self-determination, the events of 2016 for the Ambazonian people signal the drive for political self-determination to reclaim and to restore the independence of Ambazonians. So the Balfour Declaration signaled an opening for political self-determination in part of Palestine. But Zionist leaders understood something important from a realist perspective. A declaration alone does not create durable sovereignty. In realist political doctrine, survival ultimately depends on, number one, institutional capacity, demographic organization, economic development, diplomatic alliances, technological advancement, and the ability to defend state structures. This is why the Zionist project emphasized, number one, powerful institutional building, education, agricultural development, financial networks, international diplomacy, and eventually strong defenses and security architectures. This logic was clear. In a hostile and unstable environment, weakness invites external risk. Oh, in a hostile and unstable environment, weakness invites existential risk. The realist framework. Realist thinkers in international relations from Thomas Hobbes to Hans Morgenthau argue that the international system is ultimately shaped less by morality alone and more by, number one, how powerful you are, the extent in which you can defend your interests, powerful security and defense structures, and but lastly, survival calculations. Under realism, a people wanting self-determination must prioritize survival, and that vulnerable groups must seek to develop strong defenses and their own security protection. And number three, political groups must organize themselves around, number one, reducing existential threats against themselves, against their people, and against institutions. From this perspective, the realist movement, the Zionist movement, believed survival required political organization, strategic unity, economic capability, international alliances, and strong institutional resilience, not symbolic identity alone. So what are the broader lessons for the Ambazonian people? The deeper lessons for many Ambazonians movements that we can draw from the Jewish historical experience is not simply for us to build defense groups and defense and strengthen our defense capabilities. That is essentially important and must be our number one priority. The most important lesson is this: a sustainable national project requires comprehensive capacity building that includes disciplined leadership, strategic patience, educational advancement of our children and our communities, economic organizations, diplomatic sophistication, institutional credibility, and internal cohesion. Because history repeatedly shows emotionally driven movements often burn out. Fragmented movements become vulnerable, and societies that fail to build institutions struggle even after achieving political breakthroughs. A lesson from leadership psychology perspective. Another important lesson for the Ambazonian people is psychological. Long periods of humiliation and exclusion can produce two different outcomes, and which we should be very mindful of. Number one, the victim psychology, where a people become trapped emotionally in grievances alone. Number two, strategic psychology, where suffering is converted and transformed into powerful institutions, disciplined leadership, a resilient mindset, and long-term planning. And lastly, the collective advancement of the Ambazonian people. The most successful nationalist movements in history often made this transition from emotional grievances and emotional reaction to strategic construction, economic strength, and national survival. Another lesson the Ambazonian people can learn from the Israelis' development is the importance of economic and technological capacity. Many Israeli leaders concluded that long-term survival in a volatile environment required becoming economically dynamic, technologically advanced, and institutional efficient. This is a core realist insight. Economic strength supports political leverage, Technological capacity increases resilience, and institutional competence strengthens legitimacy internally and externally. A cautionary lesson, though. At the same time, the realist doctrine, politics can carry realist political philosophy also carries some dangers. When survival psychology becomes a permanent siege, societies can be trapped in perpetual armed resistance, fear-based politics, hardened identity, and cycles of conflict. Here's another important lesson. Self-defense alone cannot sustain legitimacy indefinitely. Long-term stability requires Ambazonian people to institute clear systems of justice within the liberation struggle itself. Political inclusion that brings all minorities into the liberation movement. Leaders must provide political guarantees and must build themselves to be attractive and gain political legitimacy. Lastly, we must establish and start to project a strong sense of coexistence with Cameroon. Finally, the central historical lesson is not simply to be strong, it is deeper than that. A people that wishes to shape its future must develop the internal capacity psychologically, institutionally, economically, diplomatically, and political to avoid remaining permanently dependent on the goodwill of stronger international actors. Because in great power politics, moral arguments matter a lot, but they must be backed by credible political movements, strong institutions, the resilience capacity, and strategic unity that comes from forming political internal coherence. And history tends to favor people who successfully transform suffering into disciplined long-term capacity rather than permanent emotional reaction alone. Fellow Ambazonians, there are two leaders that has transformed the Ambazonian society. Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba warned us. He did not only warn us, he prepared us and shaped the political capital we now have today, where we have a chance as a people to be able to sit on the table with Cameroon. That came about by through intuition, lessons, studies, research over 30 years period provided him with intuition, guidance, and a focused mind to build the necessary political strength, to build the necessary self-defense strength, to build the necessary armed resistance capacity that will give the Ambazonian people the ability to back moral arguments, historical arguments, to back international law with a strong leverage of armed resistance. Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, through his strategy of the block by block, raising men and women who bear arms to defend the independence declared by Siseko Ayoktabe Julius. That was our political breakthrough, and it is the bedrock upon which whatever we do today is based on that foundation. Siseko Ayoktabe Julius, through his audacity to declare the restoration of independence, gave the Ambazonian people a new voice and reawakened within all of us that capacity where we stand today. So when you combine the leadership of Dr. Cho and the leadership of Siseko Ayoktabe Julius, these two men, these two giants that have sacrificed their lives, in which today they are in jail for standing up and challenging Cameroon's occupation and giving the Ambazonian people the political capital in which any potential negotiation will be based on. The AGovC and AGovC Spokesperson Julius and the Ambazonian prisoners of conscience have all come together and give birth to the Unity Alliance. This is now the united front. So we call all Ambazonian political experts, political scientists, we call Ambazonian expert in international law, Ambazonian human rights organizations. We call on all the Ambazonian people to come together for us to work together through the Unity Alliance, through the Ambazonia Governing Council of Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, the IG care of Siseko Ayoktabe Julius, and the Ambazonian prisoners of conscience, including Mancho BBC, the Penterens, the Benjis, all the leaders in jail within La République and across the globe, for us to continuously forge this united front to advance the political stage of our movement. I thank you all for your kind attention. This is my message for our people today.